This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Live from Peach Time Out in the heart of Times Square, you're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 103 of Beach Talk Radio. We are broadcasting live from Peach Time Out. It is March 7th, 2020, and we are at table 23 right out on Fort Myers Beach in the heart of the soon-to-be refurbished Times Square. Whether the big clock survives or not, we're not really sure yet.
It's going to survive.
But we'll see. We'll see when they get
It's
that
iconic.
rolling. As always, we want to thank our great longtime sponsors, and we hope you'll mention us whenever you visit them. Peach Time Out right here in Times Square, FMB Designs and Remodeling, Shuckers at the Gulf Shore and the Cottage Bar, and Fort Myers Tiki Tours. And we have 2 pair of tickets to give away to the Fort Myers Tiki Tours. That is coming up later on in the show. 2 pairs or 2 pair. And that's coming up in the next 90 minutes. We're going to give away those 2. It's kind of like a St. Patrick's Day giveaway. Another busy,
you in the 90 minutes, really.
Another busy week of exciting news on the beach here, dear, and we'll get all of that in over the next 90 minutes. We're starting the show off today with a guest on the telephone as we try and unravel some of these local packs. Some of these local packs that are going on here during the election, and the election is very windy here tonight. The weather today, the weather is beautiful, but it is gorgeous. A little bit on the windy side. So the election is 1 week from Tuesday. So we've been trying to dig into these packs to see if we can find out who's the money behind some of the flyers and some of the campaigning, the negative campaigning down here on the beach. Dan Allers will be with us later on in the show. And also we have Casey coming up. Casey from the Calusa Waterkeepers coming up as well. And our first guest is on the phone, and I think we have him on the phone now. Are you there, Phil?
Yes, good morning.
How you doing, Phil? Now, let me introduce everybody to who Phil is. Phil is a political consultant, and he's had some experience here on the beach. So, Phil, why don't you first let everybody know exactly, what your background is and what a political consultant is. Phil, you there? Did we lose him?
Well, you scared him right off that quick.
Phil, you there?
Hello?
Yep.
There you go. You're on now. So, Phil, my question was, why don't you let everybody know exactly who you are and what a political consultant does?
Well, a political consultant is a representative for a politician or someone running for office that helps guide them on the path to getting elected. Like an advertising agency for a politician, you help them with their theming and messaging. You help them to get that message out the best way through television, through direct mail, earned media, any number of factors.
And how long have you been doing it?
I hate to say it, but I've been doing it for about 20 years.
Okay, so you're familiar with Fort Myers, right? You have had some history here on Fort Myers. Tell us about how you were involved and when you were involved down here on the beach.
Well, I've been involved in Lee County in that area for a while. I worked with the casino project in 2012. I worked with Larry Tiger's campaign, who was the mayor of the there for commission when he ran in 2012. And I worked with any number of local campaigns and efforts.
Now, you broke up a little bit when you said 2012. Was that Larry Kiker? Is that who you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were also part of the go ahead, dear. You have a question? Go ahead.
My
wife is here also, Phil. She has a question.
Good morning. So, and do you have experience running a PAC as well? Is that?
Yes, we do. We've run several PACs, and we also do advertising for several PACs in multiple states.
Okay, before we get to that PAC, you were also involved back when there was a push to unincorporate here on Fort Myers Beach. Talk about that a little bit.
What can I tell you about it?
Why was there a push to unincorporate the beach after it was it's only been 1995? So who was behind that, and what was the reason for it?
Well, it was my understanding that a number of people had grown weary of how overbearing the city council seemed to be towards the people in local businesses.
Okay, and what happened with that? I mean, who was behind that, and how did it turn out? Well, obviously, it didn't succeed because it's still incorporated. But who was behind that?
Well, it had never reached a point that went too terribly far. It was more of an exploratory kind of issue at that point in time, I think.
Gotcha. And so they contacted you, and there was some. Did you guys advance to the advertising stage, or it never even got that far?
No, it never really got that far. There was a temperature taken. We did some polling and spoke with people, and it was just one of those things that never coalesced.
Gotcha.
You have that in politics sometimes. There's an idea that just doesn't quite hit a formation kind of point.
Now, this current election down here has gotten pretty dirty. There's some dirty politics going on. Do you know anything about how these flyers get produced and it's so impossible to unravel it, get so deep, no
well,
matter...
it's Florida is a great state for public information, though. It you can get to the bottom of it sometimes. I'm looking at one of your flyers about higher taxes, where a PAC hit Dan Allers and Bruce Butcher.
Mm-hmm.
And it was paid for by the Electioneering Communication Committee, making a better tomorrow.
Right.
Which, oddly enough, a little bit of digging, and that's run by Eric Robertson.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
His wife's on the Sarasota County Commission.
Uh-huh.
You all right?
So you've got a lot of special interests that try and take part, and you don't necessarily know who they are, but you have that anytime in political elections now, honestly.
So, Phil, what do you know about Eric Robinson? I mean, I can tell you that I've been trying to get in touch with him, and I sent him a direct message on Facebook that said, give me a call. So he gave me a call, and he thought he's an accountant up there in Jensen Beach, or not Venice. Jensen Beach, right. Venice. And he thought I was interested in taxes. And then I brought up this flyer, and he totally denied that he had anything to do with this mailer, and he said I was crazy, and said that he has nothing to do with making a better tomorrow. So what do you make of that?
Well, considering he was the only person listed I saw on the Secretary of State's website for the Division of Elections, I don't know. Anybody can deny anything these days, I guess.
Is it common or uncommon? Because he has upwards of 20, 25 PACs that he's the chairman, treasurer, or registered agent, and in many cases, all three. How much can one person manage and handle?
Well, it's one person in the fact that they're the face man for it. There's a gentleman out of Gainesville that I think runs 150 of these things.
Good Lord, that's a lot of money.
They call him the king of dark money and all that kind of stuff in Florida. You see a lot of that, actually.
And there's a lot of money that are in some of these. One I saw
a lot of money
was $6.5 million, and they seem to, which is what makes it so hard to find out who's doing what, because they're constantly donating and expendituring back to each other.
And moving the money like a shell
yes.
game. That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
You're playing that old little con game where you're moving the shell back and forth. And who paid for it? Well, it was paid for by this committee, but their
right.
donation came from the committee to elect better government. And,
right.
and that, yeah, absolutely.
So is all of that legal, Phil? Is all of that legal that you're able to do that?
No, absolutely. I'm not a lawyer, but it's my understanding that it's perfectly legal to move money from one PAC to another. It's just part of the landscape these days in politics.
But moving that around, they do have to report it on a monthly basis, correct? They
do report it, and somewhere there's a committee that took a donation from Bob Smith
mm-hmm.
or General Electric or whoever it was that
right.
donated the money before it went to another PAC and another PAC and another PAC.
So, Phil, the question about these flyers on the beach is, these flyers have gotten nasty, and some of them are factually incorrect, like the one that you just mentioned with the taxes. That's a total fabrication that never happened. To accuse a candidate of not paying his business taxes, it was just totally falsified. And I know politics gets dirty, and that happens everywhere. And they're hoping to convince people that are either on the fence with a candidate or to try and get the people that don't participate in politics, like other people that get to know the candidates. But those flyers like that don't come really from Jensen Beach. Somebody on Fort Myers Beach is attacking those candidates, and we can't figure out who it is. How do we figure out who it is?
You know, you've got to look to the opposition and who stands to benefit and who stands to gain if these people get elected. That's the real question you've got to ask yourself in these instances. Who benefits either through lower taxes, who benefits through special things they might get through the city, who really benefits if Dan Allers and Bruce Butcher don't get elected?
Well, go ahead.
Well, and I think, as far as we talked about the donations, I mean, we've looked and tried to follow it back, but if it's moved 15 times, it's virtually impossible. And the donation.
No, absolutely. That's why you've got to look away from the money. You've got to look to who on your island actually benefits or opposes. You've got to look to your island, because even if you found the donation, you might not know who it's really from, because their accountant could have donated. Another corporation could have donated it.
Well, the on the 10th, the next I guess the next financial statements are due on the 10th for all these PACs. What are the chances that we're going to see expenditures for these flyers and an actual way to trace it back to the people?
Zero.
Zero chance.
Zero.
Is that really the intent of this law?
No, it's really not. The intent of the law is to allow for openness in elections, political communications through PACs, that you can easily see the money. But the problem is, honestly, the city elections in Fort Myers are pretty small.
Yeah.
So it hits a point where you could even call your friend and say, "Hey, I know you've got a PAC. Can you help me out with this? It's only going to be about $15,000."
So the gist of the movement of the flyers and mailers is, in my opinion, which still I think I have, according to the Constitution, right, dear? We're allowed to. Phil, sometimes I go off on a tangent. Just ignore me when I do that, and I'm looking at her. I know you can't see my facial expressions on the Facebook, but the intent, I think, of those flyers is anti-TPI, anti-growth. They don't want Margaritaville in town. You know this town because you've had some history here. You've worked with one of the candidates that is now running. Who do you think it is?
Well, I've got to tell you, I think that you're absolutely right. I think it's probably coming from some sort of local business that is going to get hurt by a larger, better resort development like that. I think that you see these scare tactics come out. I was looking at one of the flyers that was saying they're going to raise your taxes, which is a ridiculous argument on Fort Myers Beach. You've got a lot of things going on. You've got lighting needs. You've got roads you're trying to work on. You got drainage issues. And everybody wants that done. It's, now your taxes are going to go up. Oh, and developers are going to make it on your money. That's, a lot of these are just ridiculous kind of throwouts just to scare people. Oh my God, look at this. The sky is falling. And some people buy into it. They're like, oh my God, they're right. But the fact of the matter is, each voter should take the time and go and investigate the candidates and see what they think about them.
So you were at the beginning of your answer. You were almost getting close to. I want you to name names. I mean, you've got nothing to lose in this. You've got nothing to lose in this battle. If you were to take a guess.
Oh, of course I do. Look, anytime you suppose a name like that, if I was to throw out a name, then that could be considered libelous or slanderous or whichever one's spoken and not written. And I'm not going to get into that kind of finger pointing. I think that each individual who votes on Fort Myers Beach should take a look at the candidates and see who would be of most service to them and their interests, who's going to provide for their needs, and to take these flyers and look at, okay, why is somebody spending money against them? And who benefits from that?
So I think what you're saying is it's obvious.
I think so, yes, sir.
Say what?
I would agree with you in that supposition, yes.
Okay. So the folks that are seeing these flyers, or the candidates that are getting accused of things that are blatantly untrue, what do they have any recourse?
Well, as these flyers show, money is communication. They've got to get their message out. They've got through, automated phone calls, direct mail, and TV commercials. They've got to get out there and tell people what they really stand for and not let people be fooled by this stuff. The problem is a lot of voters today rely too much on communications like this and don't do enough research into the candidates. Who cares about the island? Who wants to be of service and who just wants to serve themselves. You've got a lot of great candidates running this time, and I hope that the voters can see through these kind of shams and BS that the business people are putting out trying to protect their nickel or their stayers instead of a new resort. I mean, TBI was very divisive, and anytime you've got a new big resort that comes to town, people are going to go to that and not some of the other places perhaps in the beginning. And instead of spending the money on renovation and competing, they'd rather spend money on communications like this and try and keep them down.
Now, in terms of recourse, that in addition to people can file with a complaint with the election committee. Is that true?
The ethics
well,
committee.
you can, but there has to be a reason for it. I tell all of my candidates, anybody I work with, politics is a contact sport. It is a knife fight in a dirty bar, and if you don't get up, you're going to be laying on the floor at the end of the day.
Okay.
And this is just going to happen. The public arena is one that there's a wide latitude as far as what you can say about a person, or you can say about raising taxes or lowering taxes or anything of the kind, and it's just one of those things you got to fight fire with fire, really. You can't wait for the state to solve your problem. If you do, election day is going to pass and you're not going to get elected and the wrong people are going to get elected.
And when you say fight fire with fire, do you mean just get out there and make your own case about what you want, or sling more mud the other way?
I mean, you've got to go there, knock on doors, and tell people what you stand for. This isn't me. This is somebody from outside of our island trying to tell you what to think.
Okay.
And people need to look at the candidates. You can't rely on communications like this to pick your next city council or county commissioner or state representative or anything else.
Well, Phil, I agree with what you're saying, but you know what the bullshit part of it is? That it's really not somebody from outside the island. It's somebody on the island that's afraid to show their face, and that's what really sucks about the whole thing. They're hiding behind other people. I mean, if you want to fight the fight, then get in the ring and fight the fight instead of doing it that way, where we can't even figure out. Well, we can't say for 100%
certainty where it came from.
Right,
absolutely.
Right. We have our speculation.
Well, that is a shame. If you want something or don't like something and you're afraid to put your name on it, then you really don't mean it and you don't believe in the cause. Because just like they ran this through a political action committee, they could have put paid for by Bob Smith and put their address on there.
Right.
And they chose not to do that. Right. So you're absolutely right. This is somebody who, for lack of a better word, is cowardly and don't want you to know who they are.
Now, do you know anybody that used to be a senator or a state senator or some kind of senator that became a political consultant do you know anybody that's doing that now? Because that's the next rabbit hole we're going down to try and see if there's any connection that way. Does that ring a bell in any way to you?
Well, I mean, you see that a lot here and there. I mean, there are many fine state representatives and senators that end up in political consulting firms or things of the sort, lobbying firms.
But you don't know.
You see that a lot.
But you don't know anybody specific that might be doing that on Fort Myers Beach. You haven't heard that in your circles.
Again, you don't. I would be reticent to try and suppose who may or may not be attached to something.
Oh, okay.
Like
So that might be something that you tell me off the record at a different time. I'm hoping. So do the negative ads work?
They've done a lot of studies, and the fact of the matter is they do.
Is that right?
They do the right kind of negative ad works. And a lot of ads that some people view as negative aren't. Like, I like contrasting pieces. I believe in this, Johnny doesn't. Johnny voted against this, and I wouldn't. I like that sort of advertising, okay, because it puts one against the other and shows you exactly what they stand for.
Right.
This kind of negative advertising, this kind of a shot in the dark, a shotgun approach to, hey, they suck, and here's why, and it's BS, and it's got no real merit to it. I'd like to think that doesn't work, that voters aren't fooled, but the fact of the matter is a lot of voters don't do the research. They don't look at the candidates like they should, and we end up with the representatives you don't deserve.
All right. What do you think is in a town like this, Phil? What do you think is the perfect amount of time people should spend on like a town council? They're I ask that because there's a referendum in the election a week from Tuesday that they're trying to push it to November, which makes sense. I mean, every election you would think is usually in November, but they're trying to extend the term from 3 years to 4 years. So, what is your thought on whether it should be 3 or 4?
Well, I think anytime you have off your elections and you have smaller elections where people aren't designed to turn out like they are in a presidential election or in a gubernatorial election, I think it diminishes who votes. And when you diminish who votes, you end up with smaller elections and a less representative vote on the island or in your community.
I don't. So 3 or 4? 3 or 4 years.
I think 4. I think 4 is a better number.
Yeah. Oh, darn it. I'm never
you
for giving.
Losing.
I'm never for giving politicians
well,
more
personal
time.
Opinion. That's a personal opinion. I mean, 3 for you may be the best number.
Yeah.
And
no, most people think 0 for him would be the best number.
Yeah. No, I just think that they should elect a mayor down here too. I think it's time for them to elect a mayor, but that's a whole different story. One of the questions from one of our Facebook viewers was, if somebody does want to file a complaint, how do they do that? And they have to go to, I believe, the Ethics Commission or the Board of Elections?
You got the Florida Elections Commission. You've got the Florida Ethics Commission. It depends on what kind of violation you want to allege.
Yeah.
There's a number of different resources you can go through there, but that's all. That isn't going to change the outcome of your election.
Right. It'll be way past the election. Yeah.
Exactly. And the best thing, instead of trying to figure out who to complain to, is to get out there and look at the candidates, do your own research, and discover who you feel best represents your vision of the future of your island.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. As far as the outcome of this election, but I think, people start to tire of the negative ads and the negative, dirty, underhanded stuff that goes on.
They still work, and as long as people respond to them, consultants and politicians will employ them.
And I think PACs and those people that are behind this are going to continue to do it if there's never any slap on the hand or.
Oh, no, absolutely. If you turned around and voted for the people they're attacking, they quit doing it. You're absolutely right.
Right. And Nita, you're right. If you don't do your own research, you end up exactly with what you deserve. Right. And that's a great statement about that. I mean, you really should look into the candidates. And, to be honest with you, between the interviews that we've done here, not that I think anybody pays any attention to our show, and I think there were 4 forums that they had for the candidates, for the 7 candidates that all showed up. They really should have enough information to make a decision and make sure that they don't vote for Bob Brandt. He should come in last place. But other than that, we'll have our endorsements at the end of the show today, which is kind of exciting. It's going to be leading up to a big grand conclusion of who do you endorse in this campaign, Phil? What's your opinion? Not that it matters. I know you can't vote either, but
there's a lot of things about your island I think are really wonky. You've got a town manager that seems to be more in control than the city council. There's a lot of buck passing. There's a lot of people that want to blame other people for things, and I think you need a responsible group of people that take their role in shaping your island very personally.
Yeah.
And do the best job that they can.
Right.
And I think those candidates are out there. And I think, if you look at who they're advertising against, you might find some answers.
Yeah. Well, Phil, what are you working on right now?
Oh, golly jeepers. I've got a number of campaigns in Florida and Georgia we're working on right now, believe it or not. I'm actually doing work for an association that's not afraid to put their name on things in Georgia, trying to pass a House bill through committee right now and let the voters know what it does. It's funny. Every consultant picks or chooses what kind of work they like to do. And I look at these communications you guys have, and I would never put out stuff like that. If I'm going to do something like this, I want you to know where it came from. I want people to talk about, hey, is this right? Is this wrong? And see, what this has done is sparked the wrong conversation. You're looking to who paid for it and who did this, and the question really is this right?
Right.
Is this what you want on your island? Is this the kind of advertising you want, the kind of campaigns you want run on your island?
I don't think that this campaign has been worse than the previous campaign, and I kind of get the feeling that before that it was nothing like this. All of a sudden, these anti-TPI people came out of the woods, and the thing's going to be built, Phil. That's the thing. They can cry and whine all they want, and I don't know what they're trying to do with all that, but it's going to be built.
If you sue and you slow things down with litigation and you try every avenue you can, how many seasons won't this be there, and who'll benefit from that the longer this stretches out, this attack on a development that was authorized and looks to be, for any stretch of the imagination, good for your island.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of challenge any community faces. Do you want to live in the past, or are you going to move into the future? And living in the past is never a good thing. Okay, you have to accept more people live on Fort Myers Beach than did in 1995.
Okay. Go ahead, dear. Go ahead. You have another question?
Well, no,
Phil?
I just walked in. I just walked up. I'm getting everybody settled. Sorry.
So, Phil, last question. Trump or Biden?
What I'll say on that one is my daughter's name is Reagan, and I have a hard time. I have a hard time voting for somebody that doesn't know what state he's in, or
whether to kiss his sister or his mother or his wife.
His mother, his wife, or who he's talking to. He knows what office he's running for. I like that. Not, are you running for Senate or President?
Right. I hear you.
If he wasn't Joe Biden and always made mistakes at the microphone, I think we'd be looking for a nursing home for Uncle Joe.
Why is it that all of our candidates are so and I have nothing against older people, because I know I'm getting very close to being an older person, but can't we find anybody that wants to run for president, or other than Dan, somebody in their 40s on the beach that wants to run for office? I mean, what is it with all the
well, would you want to do it?
I know. We were discussing this last night, Phil, and it's almost
the more vitriol, the more anger there is in elections, the more of this kind of advertising. Who wants to step into that? For someone to actually stand up today, and I'm going to say a name like Dan, for somebody like Dan to stand up and run in this kind of environment because he wants to serve the community, because he wants to make your island a better place, and to put his name out there so he can get attacked by nameless people who hide behind political action committees and multiple donations to different PACs. You've got to applaud somebody like that, because that's what it takes. It takes somebody saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take this anymore. This is right. I want to serve the people, and be willing to put up with that kind of fire.
We're going to have Dan on later in the show for one more interview before the election on this. Is it the 17th? It's a week from Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Phil, thanks so much for your time,
Day.
man. We really appreciate it. It was great information, and we hope to be able to get to the bottom of this pack here, but it sounds like we probably won't be able to.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and it is a shame you probably won't be able to, but that's what I'm not saying you personally it's the problem for you, but you see this a lot.
Right.
You really do, and you're seeing a lot more and more. And it's not Citizens United people should be afraid of, because that's a business putting their name on something and saying, hey, we support Johnny. And I think that's fine, but when you want to hide behind multiple donations like this so nobody knows who dropped the hammer on you, I think that is kind of ridiculous, and I think it's kind of cowardly, quite frankly.
All right, Phil. Well, thanks a lot, and good luck in all the races you're running, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, sir, and thanks for the time.
All right, that's Phil Nichols, everybody, a political consultant trying to fill us in on everything that's going on with the PACs and
he's
giving us.
up in Georgia, just to be clear, right?
Yeah, he's in Georgia. Yeah, I don't know what is it, Cummings, Georgia, or Atlanta, Georgia, or something like that. But thanks a lot to Phil, and we appreciate all that great information. And we're going to slide right into our first guest here. Who looks very nervous, or he just doesn't want to be in this cold weather. Nice and close. Go ahead, dear. Take it away.
No, you do the
All right,
introductions.
so hold my microphone so I can get back to my notes. We gotta work
jeez.
together here like a team, dear.